journey that's going to prove that Joe Biden and his administration are traitors and they have committed treason against America. I only have one question for you, but before I ask that question, I want to take you back in time. We're going to transport everyone back to January 19th, 2021, the day before Joe Biden takes office. And I'm going to stand before you, and I'm going to say I came from the future 4 years from now, and I'm going to tell you what this man's going to do. First day in office, he is going to sign 94 executive orders to eviscerate every immigration policy Donald J. Trump has put into effect. He will take a border that was the most secure border in American history and turn it on its head. Within 4 years, Joe Biden will have arrested over 12 million people. 250,000 of them will be special interest aliens, which in other words, in layman's terms, terrorists. They will be arrested and released. Since the time he's become president in the 4 years, Joe Biden has created the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. He will have arrested and released over 500,000 unaccompanied alien children called UACs. Their ages are from infancy to 17 years old. They just released them to a nation that is the #1 consumer of child pornography. Connect the dots. Our government is destroying America from within. I will not stand by and allow it to happen. That's why I'm going to go to across the nation, and I'm going to show you the manifestation of this treason. You're going to see crime that you can't even fathom. You're going to see a degradation of the social benefits and welfare for American citizens being ripped from them and given to illegal aliens. You're going to see cities like Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia. You're going to see them divert tens of millions of dollars. In New York City, they're going to divert almost $12 billion for illegal aliens. The city of Chicago is brought to its knees. Social welfare, murder, crime, you can imagine. Hundreds of millions of dollars for illegal aliens. And I don't care about my residents. They can all pound sand. We are living in a world where our government hates us. And I am going to go on a journey, and I am going to prove it to you. And the question I have after all of this has been done, if everything I tell you is the truth, and it is, do you call Joe Biden a patriot or a traitor?
Yeah, roll tide, baby, roll tide. With that, Joel Maldonado, welcome back to the Old Patrol podcast, brother.
Gil, I can't tell you how happy I am, especially since Tuesday. I seem to be happier, but I'm very happy to be here with you today, as usual. And man, woo, what a great
boy! Do we got some stuff to talk about? But first, I got to ask you. I mean, it's not Halloween. How come you're still wearing your costume?
Well, it's like you got me there. There's no retort. I give up.
You got nothing. You got nothing.
Is that why you had me on? Is you were gonna? I thought we were gonna play nice.
I have been holding on to that for weeks, bro.
Oh,
weeks.
I should have known. I should have known.
Only a couple of weeks anyway. It's not been that long, but I want you to anyway. I don't care because I want you to save all the best stuff for this podcast. So, Trump got elected.
Yes, he did.
What's your first thoughts about that? What's your first thoughts?
Well, Gil, remember you and Daniel said that, yeah, we're going to publicly flog me if I was wrong. But I'm telling you, man, I sensed it. I sensed it that it was going to be too big to rig. All my sources were telling me, and what I personally observed, just seeing the energy from our side, and just people never, even the ones that were saying, well, they're just going to cheat again, they still voted, So this energy, it was no stopping it. Now, there's a lot of stuff that we can get into as to why Trump was elected exactly, but here's the biggest takeaway that we can take away right now is that it's a mandate. Without a doubt, it's a mandate because he won. He swept all the swing states, complete sweep, and just TKO'd her. And No, there's no TKO. It was a KO, a straight up
Yeah,
KO.
it was like call the ambulance because this one's may not survive.
Yeah, I mean, she was so badly damaged that FEMA is going to send her $750.
Yeah. And I heard, man, she drank herself to a stupor that night because as soon as she figured out, she literally deserts her followers as soon as she figures out she's going to lose. And apparently she went on a bender, is what people are being told, and basically woke up late in the day to make her whatever her Hillary lifted speech anyway. But the main thing is that you and I have been sounding the alarm about this entire border invasion, this monstrosity of an invasion. And so now the country has spoken from every facet of the country, from every aspect of society. The Latino vote, the black vote, the woman vote, all these different now have shifted toward voting for Trump because we just are starting to realize. And you know what, Colonel McGregor, who I've been championing as the next DHS secretary, and we'll talk about why, even said, we're going to get to a point, he says, where Americans will wake up. Well, I was cynical, I was skeptical, but guess what? We woke up, Joe.
Well, let's talk about Texas, which I'm very familiar with. Maverick County, which is Eagle Pass, Texas, went red. First time in modern history. Webb County, which is Laredo, went red. This one's really going to surprise you. Starr County, which is Rio Grande City. I'm talking Rio Grande City, Roma, where the Republican Party is almost non-existent in local races. It went red. And there was, I think, 2 little blue spots in the valley, but for the most part, the valley, the coastal bend, of Texas, all those Hispanic heavy areas went red. And here's why, Gil. And like you said, we've been sounding the alarms. Not so much with the black vote, but JJ has. But me and you have been saying that the Hispanic vote is the most affected by illegal immigration. Have we not? And
yes.
And not only that, but 41% of Hispanics voted for Trump. That is like a double number that he's ever had. And he also doubled his numbers with black people, specifically the males. And he also, even Gen Z, they like to brag about being the informed. They're pretty misinformed, but they were pretty informed this go round. So he doubled their numbers as well. So, yeah. And he got the Catholic vote in Pennsylvania. This was a true mandate, and people have had enough, and we saw it. And there is no, he overperformed everywhere, every single county and precinct. He overperformed in these swing states. Kamala didn't,
yes.
And so she was just a horrible candidate. Let's face it.
Well, yeah, she didn't even do as well as Biden would have done, even in his catatonic state, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you a question that you may know. I keep hearing two different stories when it comes to Trump's presidency. One, that this is the only this is the only time he can only do 4 years. He can't be reelected. But then I hear that because it wasn't concurrent, that there are laws that say he could be reelected for another 4 years, doing a total of 8. Do you know about that?
No. Well, my understanding is that it's 8 years. It doesn't have to be concurrent. So okay. No, this is it. My understanding is this is it. And not only that, Gil, but which means that we need to get to work. So right off the bat, he's going to be quacking if we don't get to work.
Then that's why I'm making that point. Because right now we need the most bang for our buck right out of the gate. right out of
Yes.
the gate. There can be no stumbling. There can be no second guessing. There can't be no do-overs. So I guess the crux of this whole podcast with you is I want to talk to you man to man, border patrol agent to border patrol agent. We both have been warriors in this fight, along with JJ, along with Daniel. Daniel couldn't make it because the dude, is a loser. He's got to go to work,
Oh
right?
man.
Make a living. I mean, really, bro? I mean,
What's
come on.
work? What's work?
I know. He could be here with us right now, but he'd rather be working, making money, supporting his family. So you know what? The heck with him. If that's what he wants to do, fine. But I want to talk about what's going to give us the most bang for our buck. Now, the very first thing I'll throw out at you is I believe that number one, don't let the freaking pundits, don't let the freaking commentators on TV from CNN to NBC to Fox to anybody dictate to this administration who he should hire for the different positions.
He already needs to have those people in mind and already
Yeah.
starting the vetting process, because we have no time to waste. And
Yes.
the Republicans better do right because they have a mandate too. So
Yeah.
the Senate and the House, they better get right down to business. There's no reason why this needs to be stalled. There's no reason why there's got to be any stonewalling. There's no reason why there's got to be fights, civil war between the Republicans. Right now, it's like, here's what we got to do. We can't waste time on, well, of course, he's got to do it immediately, his executive orders. But those aren't permanent, Gil. All it takes is someone like Biden getting back in office and then undoing it with a stroke of a pen within a month. So we need to do more permanent things and pass legislation. Not only that, but we need to start implementing laws that exist and say, this is why we can do this. Because this is current law.
Don't get too far ahead of me yet. Don't get too far ahead of me. I want to go one step at a time here. And I want to start with who do you think, and I'm not putting you on the spot here, and I'm going to give you my ideas as well. Who do you think is the best person for the job? DHS secretary, CBP commissioner, maybe even border patrol chief, to be able to affect our most bang for our buck coming out the chute. I mean, of course, Trump's already talked about dismantling the deep state, weaponizing DOJ, FBI, all the other three-letter agencies, Secret Service, who has been corrupted to no end, used against our citizens, used against our own now current president. Who do you say is the most bang for our buck in those top positions right now?
Well, I like Tom Homan.
Okay.
He's very knowledgeable and he knows about existing law. I've heard him in news interviews saying, no, the law states this, and so I think he'd be a great person to put in place there. Now, I like your idea of Colonel McGregor. I do like that idea. McGregor, yes. We need some fresh blood in there. That's somebody who sees it in a common sense, practical sense, that where he's coming in and like, this is what we can do. But you need people in place like Tom Homan, whether it's his assistant or as the CBP commissioner or something, to help him with guiding him, because he's got the know-how, he's got the grit, but we need those people that have the technical know-how, like Tom Homan and like Chief Rodney Scott.
Right.
That's another good one that we need in there. I would say if we don't keep Chief Owens, we would need somebody in there to clean house of the sycophants of this agency.
Oh God. My God.
And let me tell you, Gil, now, as far as, and I would start with everybody who was gaslighting for this agency, all these chiefs, they should be given the ultimatum of retire or resign. And
Okay, but again, don't get too far in the weeds yet, because I want to get to that spot. But
okay,
one step at a time, one step at a time. Let's talk about DHS. The reason why I like Douglas McGregor so much is because he saw the problem for, I think, the way it truly was. People say, well, we wanted more voters, we wanted more labor, we wanted more, to cause chaos. But what he says, the way he puts it is, this was the denationalization of America. This administration wanted to glut the system with so many people that would be blind followers, that would just be fed by the government, and then work, and in return offer their allegiance to the government through labor, through whatever it was, whatever the government needed. So they could literally build a third world country and a socialism within the Republic of America, first of all. So I see that he has that approach. Here's the reason why I believe, and by the way, Tom Homan and Rodney Scott, when I put the word out on social media, you probably saw it as well. Okay, who do you want for DHS? Who do you want for CBP? And those were the top names. But we need someone. Those guys should be in there. And by the way, I love Tom Homan, and yes, he is knowledgeable. Rodney Scott, same way. He's one of my most respected chiefs that I know. But I feel like you throw those guys as DHS and CBP, they're going to fall back into the flow of things. They may try to administer policy, but we need guys like them to inform policy. But we need a man like McGregor to enforce it, to say, okay, yes, that sounds good. That sounds good. Get going this way. Get going that way. To be able
that's
to.
That's exactly what I was saying, Gil. That we need those people in place,
agency,
but not as the main man. The main man needs to be McGregor, and then he can say, "Here's what I want. Here's my vision," and have those guys say, "Okay, here's what we can and cannot do.
How do I make it happen?" Yeah.
Yes, because they know the nuts and bolts, but this guy knows the overall picture, like you said. What have we not been saying that all along, though? That they're bringing in these masses who, with time, Gil, will vote as conservatives. I'm telling you, 41% voted for Trump because Hispanics are traditional in values, and
yes.
They don't like men dressed as women, teaching their kids or reading to their kids, and everything socially, economically,
yes.
And not only that, but we Hispanics have a lot of pride in the sense that we don't like government taking care of us from cradle to grave. Most of us think, hey, I want to provide for my family. That is a true Hispanic and how they feel. Now, going back to your point, they're bringing in these masses and saying, no, don't worry about it. We'll pay for your phone. We'll pay for this. We'll pay for your housing. They're creating masses of leeches, and then and they will never get out of it. It's kind of like the Native Americans when they gave them everything in their reservation, and they gave up hope, and it's really hard to get out of that rut. And same thing with African Americans in the inner cities, where they're saying, look, where after a while you hear a lot of them say, I don't want to work because they'll take away my welfare. I mean, think about it. That's what they're doing with this bunch of people that they're importing that would, in the future, if left alone and given the opportunity of the American dream, they will always vote conservative down the road. But they're not doing that. They're not doing that because they're setting them up for failure so they can keep their power.
Absolutely. So you get a general, right? Someone that knows everybody's best talents and where to plug them in. You got guys like Tom Homan, even Victor Avila, even Rodney Scott, many others that could be named that are excellent, fighters that are good to go, to be able to accomplish to facilitate the goal. And I say JJ Carroll is CBP commissioner. That freaking dude is 1,000% enforcement.
Well, I tell you what, man, that guy,
he'll take the job.
Well, you gotta have somebody like that. That is bulldog. Not that is he even though he moved up the ranks, but not that high up to where he's tainted.
Yes.
So we need somebody who's not afraid to tell, hey, why were you gaslighting? You knew full well, but you put your career over
politics, ideology, whatever, over the good of the country, right?
Over the oath.
Absolutely over the oath of of our office, right? Being able to allow this monstrosity of number of illegal alien savages to ravage our country, and that's what they've done, is ravage our country, and the damage is yet to be seen, the extent of it. I mean, unless we really have the goal, the will to do what it takes to get done. And that's why I think McGregor, like that, outside the agency, right? He's not a DHS sycophant. He's not a CBP sycophant. He is a freaking general, and it is war. And what it's going to take, Joel, to be able to turn things around is going to hurt. It's going to be rough. I don't think it's going to be civil war, even though I do believe that the freaking woke, gender confused, freaking people out there won't know what to do with themselves, and they're going to rebel and riot and everything else. America is going to literally fight the cure. It's going to, so the cure is going to hurt more than the disease for a bit.
Gil, you brought up an interesting point, the sycophantic media, for example. They, mark my words, it will not take much time when Trump decides, hey, let's start doing interior enforcement. Let's start picking these people up that didn't show up to their hearing, which as I know, they're bagging baggage. They have no rights to due process, no more. They surrendered it when they decided not to show up. So we got to explain that message to the American people, because I guarantee you the sycophantic media is going to be showing one who has 2 kids. And then they're going to say, oh, how sad. They're ripping him out of, he had already started a life here. I can see it already.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, right? Even who was it that, Tom Homan, right? Tom Homan was asking, first of all, the idea that it will be way too expensive to deport all these people is ridiculous. We already have Global X, which is giving free rides to illegal aliens that want to go back home for Christmas and come back. Come back. And it's, they got a whole, I think they got 15 planes, all taxpayer funded. So we got 15 planes there. We have the military Air Force. We have all these planes we could use. Herbert Hoover deported 9 million after that 120, the crash in 1920. We could. It's not a big push for us, but like Tom Homan was asked, but you're going to be separate. What do you do about separating families? And I love it. Did you see that clip? I love his answer. He goes, of course we can deport them all, because we'll just deport the entire families. Right? Yeah. We won't separate them. So, I mean, it was just a ridiculous question to begin with, but he handled it perfectly.
Yeah, and he can say, no, we're unifying families. They're not coming over here. We're taking them back home to their families. They're reunified. So no, we can't fall. Look, as far as infrastructure and everything, we have everything we need. We have TSA, we have Coast Guard, we got all the military planes that we can use. We can load up all these people, fly them out, and then and go round the clock. Yes, keep them going. Keep them going. We can deport them all. We have that. What we don't have is the willpower.
Oh, yeah, and that's another thing that Colonel McGregor was talking about, is the fact that already you should start having policy drafts, action plans, action committees, and things ready to go on the ground to move, because it's going to unfortunately have to be it's going to be a surgical hit that's got to be done almost all at once. And he's, many times Trump has said we're going to have the greatest deportation force in the history of the country. And that is doable because all this infrastructure, Joel, that we put together to process aliens literally indefinitely for decades to come can now be switched around and used as deportation centers.
Exactly. So if it's used for harm, it can also be used for good. You know,
Yes.
so thank you very much, Mayorkas. We will use that and get them deported out of here. So but again, do we have the willpower to say, like, well, I can hear them now, because they're not going to stop saying that we're Nazis
No.
and we're using
Yes.
Gestapo like tactics to get these people who just wanted a better life. And no,
Yeah.
we need to explain to the American people, we're not being heartless. These people had due process. They never showed up to their hearings. They are deportable upon encounter. We just got to get that messaging out. And that's a big, big thing. And we need to, the law isn't always pretty, but the law is there to protect its citizens.
Yeah, it needs a clean sweep. And the problem is too, Joel, that we have created this subclass across the country of individuals that literally do not want to become Americans, do not want to join our system, go to our school, pay our taxes. They want to be able to run free in this country. And that's mostly all these criminal cartels that now have put a foothold in almost every major city in our country, right? They're living in homeless shelters. They're living off the government dime. They're making 20 to 100,000 a year in perks. All these things, they don't even want to become Americans. And to say that these guys, as soon as they get past Border Patrol or CBP, they're enjoying the American dream is ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that over 1 million kids that this DHS has lost track of, has completed, doesn't know where they are, where to find them. We don't have an agency in the entirety of the government, state, local, state, federal, that tracks these kids, that tracks kids where they're going. And we've allowed, even before that, 500,000 kids disappear in America to sex trafficking, organ harvesting, labor, whatever it is, sold them all over the world. When do we finally say enough is enough of that?
Exactly. And it all comes down to explaining. Once again, Gil, you got to be able to explain these things to people and saying, look, we're making things safer for you. I know this violin story is tugging at your heartstrings, but don't you care? Isn't that what you voted for? That is what we're doing. We're making this country safer, not only for us, but for the illegal aliens. Because like you said, these children that are out there that don't have advocates, those children are out there in sex trafficking organizations, and they're probably, we will never find them again. But if we don't at least try, by going into these stash houses, going into these areas that are known areas of illegal aliens, just go in there and start finding them, and you'll be surprised how many places, even houses of ill repute and all kinds of stuff you're going to find. But it's some people may not like it because it's un-American or it's a Gestapo-like tactics. I'm telling you, you got to be able to explain that this is for their good as well. 1 in 3 women getting raped when they cross the border. Hey, we'd like to make a nice, safe border for both countries. So it's going to take a lot of willpower. But Trump is already doing the right thing. He talked to the Mexican president, I heard the other day, and I hope he told her right off the bat, look, here's what's coming your way. 25% tariff on all Mexican products, all of them. And we're going to start taxing all money going south in Western Union from illegal aliens. We're going to tax that 25% if you don't help us stop the flow. And that will slow it down.
He's already done it. He's already put a shot across the bow to him. I just posted just before we started an article where Trump is already warning the president of Mexico that we mean business, to discuss with all these other countries like Maduro and Venezuela, who basically decides when we can deport, who we can deport back to his country and who we can't. All these things need to be put in place. And honestly, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that already we're starting to see this massive flow coming in before January 21st, right before the inaugural. We're going to see this. We're already seeing this massive flow come in, trying to get in under the wire under this administration. We also see that this administration is going to go all out to glut the system before Trump gets inaugurated, right? But once we do that, Joel, Well, let's just say we're able to accomplish this, right? We're able to go in there and make a clean sweep of every city. The retired guys that still are capable, and still remember their freaking Spanish can go back in, right? And we all join in, and we all freaking make this a countrywide effort. We get it done. How do we keep things that way, right? How do we shut down the border, right? And how do we then sour the milk in America, where even if they make it past us, there's no place to go?
Well, by the virtual wall. Let's not waste our time with because they're going to fight the racist wall and they're going to claim all these words. And we're wasting our times with a wall. Let's do the virtual wall. And the virtual wall is to enforce all these strong existing immigration laws. That's your virtual wall. That's a deterrent. And if there is no consequences, they're going to keep coming, whether there's a wall or not. And you know it, Gil. You know it.
Oh, yeah, We've had those laws in place, right? We've had laws in place. You shouldn't be able to get any kind of social services without being legally here, present in the United States. Apply in school, get a freaking job. Yeah. None of those things you should be able to do without being here legally in the United States.
That's right. And none of those
are already in there.
None of those benefits. I mean, of course, anybody in this country, like let's say they have illegal aliens here, and then somebody gets into an urgent matter and they have to go to the emergency room. We're not going to refuse them. That's what liberals will say. We can't refuse. Well, of course not. So we're going to treat them, put a hold on them, and deport them.
Yeah.
Every time they show up at an emergency room, we need to have officers there to sack them up, and because that's a deportable offense as per the INA. It's a public charge. Once you've become a public charge to the American people, which you are never going to pay for this bill.
Yeah,
and that means it comes from Medicaid funds or from whatever hospitals. Guess what? Hospitals say, well, we ate that. No, they didn't. They turn around and charge the consumer, the American consumer.
Yes.
So they don't do that for the kindness of their heart. They've become a public charge, and it affected every American. And since they did that, they are deportable. And then all the other ones.
Chuck Schumer says that, we benefit from all illegal immigration, from all immigration whatsoever, that everybody that's coming here right now is a benefit to America, that they're a plus to America. We know that we've spent billions, over 100 billion a year in the expenses since this administration started. We know that we're getting people that already come with diseases that they didn't get vaccinated for, and now we see outbreaks across the country of all these measles, mumps, all these things that we got rid of years and years and years ago, eradicated, are now back. And here's the thing, back in the 1900s, early 1900s, we had no school system, yet we had the most educated country in the world. How was that? Because we were allowing people to immigrate into the country legally, and it was the middle class, educated, could read and write. All right, we attracted the best, and therefore, people started schools, people taught at home, whatever it was. But we had the best literary system. Now we're not getting the best of the best. We cleaned out Venezuela of their insane and criminal. We are receiving from across the world. We're not even vetting them. We're not even able to vet them properly before we release them into the country, and then we wait till they either rape, beat, murder, or molest our children before we go after them. So, that argument does not stand, does it?
No, I'm going to piggyback off what you just said, because this is very important that people understand this, how the demographics work with immigration. And I'll just list a few examples. One of the most successful immigrant groups in recent history, from the 1960s and so forth, is the Cuban Americans, and it's the Cubans, because the very best left Fidel's. They had the money to leave Fidel's communist Cuba. they were the doctors, they were these were all, we got their first wave of people were the cream of the crop. So that's why they were able to come here and immediately succeed the Cuban Americans. The first wave of Venezuelans that were escaping Maduro, who truly were scared for their lives because they were wealthy people that were, they left, and they're the ones that helped turn Miami-Dade red. The first wave of Venezuelans and Cubans that are now Hispanics voting in the electorate and are voting with conservatives. Now, look at the 1980s, Nicaragua. The people that were fleeing the Sandinistas. The Contras that we inherited here were good people that hated communism. They hated socialism. So they've been a very successful. The Nicaraguans are conservatives. So most of them are conservatives. Now, look at the opposite. El Salvador. We were supporting the military, which was going, of course, probably doing some human rights things, issues, and killing a lot of communists. So the El Sal's came over here, but guess what they were? They were fleeing social. They were leftists that were seeking refuge in the United States. So that's why when Ronald Reagan gets a lot of bad rap for this, it's because he brought in all these El Sal's and Guatemalans that were fleeing, but they weren't fleeing socialism. They were just fleeing for their lives, but they came over here and continued their socialist ways. And then their kids were dirtbags that became the MS-13 and all that stuff. So so that's how the demographics work. So long story short, well, I know I chased a rabbit, but what I'm telling you is you are absolutely right, Gil. You're absolutely right that if we can pick and choose and get the very best, the ones that love America because it is a beacon of hope, because it is a beacon of democracy, that they really truly come in and look at Lady Liberty and cry because they love this country. That's what we need to import, not the people that are being released right now, Venezuelans, the insane asylums, the criminals, and then all the scum from Latin America. Because let's face it, a lot of because of what the president of Mexico, of El Salvador, Bukele, great president. Guess who's fearing for their lives? Gangs. So they're coming over here again. So that's the kind of crap we're getting over here. That's how the demographics are.
And that's the thing, right? 100 years ago in 1924, before even the Border Patrol was invented, Congress knew, the government knew that we needed to start making quotas, right? And at the beginning, it was a problem of the Chinese influx coming in and, all over the border. And so Chinese mounted inspectors before we came to the Border Patrol. But we knew that we needed quotas so that we could only sift through the quality people, right? And that, I know that sounds like very, antagonistic against the poor in the other countries and the downtrodden and the persecuted. But the idea was, if you come to America, you're coming to become an American. And most of those people in those days that were coming here legally from, again, middle class, educated, read and write, they understood the idea and the concept of America and what it was about, the opportunities here. Later on, Ted Kennedy, I wrote my notes there, Ted, so I can sound intelligent with you. Ted Kennedy, Jay Chavez are really the ones that began to open the spigot. We've had these laws in place, everything, employer sanctions, all these things, education, all those things, all those in place. You have to be a legal citizen to get them. But little by little by little, Republican, Democrat, throughout the entire, all these years till now, this was the culmination of decades of just a monstrosity waiting to happen, wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned the Chinese. There was an actual law that basically is attributed to the birth of the Border Patrol. It was called the Chinese Exclusion Act. And can you imagine a law now, the Venezuelan Exclusion Act? I mean, oh my goodness. But times have changed. Yeah. However, laws are laws, and they're there to protect the people, like you said. And if you don't have anything in place for vetting, then you have what you have now, and you have people
Yes.
taking over apartments or raping women at will. And that's what happens when you have unvetted mass migration.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know the reason. I have my reason for this, but why, if we have every law in place that we need to sift through, prevent what happened the last 4 years. Yet both Republican and Democrat administrations throughout the decades have literally just kind of batted an eye at that, given some word, acknowledgement to it, but never really truly enforced it. Joel, why? Why up until now?
That's because of the lobbies that exist, and
My man.
And for the right, it's the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They people used to think that's a conservative thing, and they do. They give to Republican coffers, but in return, they want illegal immigration because it helps enriching them. And the left, they think that they're going to have votes, and so they want more welfare, more free stuff, more entitlements, all these things to keep people in their side. They become essentially slaves of them because that way they can maintain their power. It's not because they care for the downtrodden and want to help. It's because they want to keep their power. And that's a fact. These are, I know, I know, like when a conservative talks like this, people say, "Wow, that sounds kind of, almost radical." But no, these are facts. These are facts that nobody has the gumption to do anything because they're beholden to these lobbies. And that's why, to go back to your great point, that some outsider like McGregor, who's a general, would do a great job in disrupting. Somebody like Robert F. Kennedy, who can go in there and disrupt. I mean, that guy is going to do some great things if he's not assassinated.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Is gosh, and I had a great point and I couldn't hold on to it.
That happens.
Oh
It'll
yeah,
come back. I know it will.
Yeah, but getting back to the whole idea of lobbyists, the money being spent to pay Republican and Democrat politicians to turn a blind eye to just, that's really where it boils down to. Lobbyist money, PAC money, all these things are more important to stay empowered, keep your position, than it is to enforce or regulate what's going on in this country right now. And that is, something's got to be done about that. Because otherwise we're just going to continue in this thread, and there's only so much Trump is going to be able to do in 4 years. That's why it's, he's got to come out of the chute, just, balls to the wall, getting it done, getting the media machine to process 24 hours a day what he's doing and how every step of the way. Okay. And us getting out there and enforcing the rule of law. All the laws are already in place. Nothing new really has to be written. Just enforce what's on the books to start. We may need some new to adjust now, because look, also another point I want to make with you. People are going to say, well, you go through and you deport all the illegal people that are in here. Businesses are going to fold because they only hire illegals. Across this country, there's going to be this huge, massive, a day without a Mexican, a day without an illegal in this country. How are we going to eat our sushi? How are we going to pick our crops, Joel? How are we going to get our houses cleaned if we don't have all these illegals that they're in the system now? What do we do?
Yeah, that is very elitist thinking, and that's the liberal elitist left that thinks that way. Who's gonna mop my floors? Who's gonna do that? It's like, and that should be insulting to every single Hispanic out there. That hey, the only reason we want you around is because you can do stuff for us.
I remember my point, so I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. Think about that, Gil. Think about how racist a statement that is. they're saying who's gonna mop our floors and who's gonna landscape our yards and things like that. Is that what we're relegated to? Is that what we as a people who I have every right to think that my kids someday have somebody landscaping their yard or have somebody I have every right as a Hispanic to feel that the sky's the limit, and that's part of the American dream. So for them people to say that, well, you have every right to be here so you can clean my toilets is insulting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they don't understand that because it's coming from the Democrat Party of compassion. But here's the thing, too. Even let's just say, for the sake of argument, we clean house, and millions of small businesses, whatever, fold because all they do is hire illegals. I think we're still going to find places to eat. I think we're still going to be able to, rally, and we may, some things may slow down in this country, but I think it's a necessary evil. I think it's even if it does stall us for a few weeks to a month, at best, I still think we can survive it, no problem. We'll rally, we'll adjust. But here's the point I wanted to make that was so brilliant earlier that I forgot it. The Democrat Party is the party of the Ku Klux Klan. The Democrat Party, and this is history, guys. This is freaking just history. The Democrat Party is the one who fought to keep the black population enslaved, and they've managed. This is my point. They've managed, Joel, to enslave the black population and even the Hispanic population, the Democrat Party, all the way up until 250 years into this country. And finally, I think half of them woke up.
Yeah. And a lot of people even remember the civil rights when it was signed into law by Lyndon Johnson. Remember from his memoirs, the actual quote that came out of him that we cannot say. He says, "We will have the N-word vote forever." When he signed that into law, he said, "We will have the N-word vote forever." But little did he know that these people are waking up, like you said. They're waking up, and when a member of the Black Lives Matter movement said, "You know what?" He endorsed Trump because he said, he realized that the Democrat Party is doing nothing for them.
They haven't, and all this time they've enslaved people into being dependent on the government. They wanted them dependent on welfare, food stamps, social programs, EBT, medical, everything else. And they, decade after decade after decade after decade after century, they have enslaved the population to the federal government, indentured servants, basically, just living off the government dime and just making sure they provide that winning vote every time they won. And I'll tell you, I am so heartened and so inspired and so grateful to be an American, because I thought this generation was lost. I thought this generation was just going to go down the toilet and take us with them. And it was going to be generations down the line before finally people woke up. But I saw now that my fellow Americans are waking up, realizing where their bread is buttered, not with Trump or with freaking Kamala, but with themselves. They want they know that the best opportunity they have for a job, for an education, for a career, for a retirement that's going to take care of them, that a lot of us have, thank God for and benefited from, right? We worked the Border Patrol, Joel. We worked our butts off. We risked our lives. And now we live decently thanks to all 20, 25, 30 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and the best job we ever damn had, right? And they're starting to see that that's not going to happen with the Democrat Party. And yet their only takeaway from this is that their message wasn't good enough to fool the American people into voting Kamala in again, and they got to rethink their tactics. That was their only takeaway.
Well, and not only that, but they've also said, some of the pundits and the media have said that that they needed to dumb down their message. And in other words, that we're so stupid that we're not understanding what they want for us. I read a good article on Red State, about that. And, but, Gil, I want to get back to what you were leading to as far as like a day without a Mexican or a day without a migrant, and how are we gonna survive? Well, here's how we're gonna survive. These slave drivers, modern day slave drivers, are out there that have a landscaping crew, for example. And I've written articles about this on Border Watch Daily, that let's say they have 14 illegal aliens. They pay them $7 an hour for back-breaking work.
Yeah.
But they charge the customer, let's say $50,000 to landscape the front and back and have a fully landscaped yard with irrigation and everything. You're thinking about $50,000. And that guy who's running that illegal alien crew of 14 people is paying them $7 an hour. He's enriching himself. So now what we're going to do is, when we sweep and clean house, we're taking away all the illegal aliens. And now that greedy, I'll keep it PG, that greedy contractor now has to pay $16 an hour to an American citizen or to a resident alien or to anybody who wants a good paying job. Let's do it that way.
Compete.
Now they have to pay, and guess what? Their profit margin won't be as big, but that is, these people will benefit. Now your people are have $16 an hour, and they're paying into the Social Security. They're paying taxes. They're buying more things because they're making money, good money. That is how we survive as a nation. We don't talk about scenarios where, a day with an illegal alien means everything will come to a halt. No, it will. No. All it means is you will stop profiting so much off the backs of illegal aliens. And if we still need more, that's when you come in and say, hey, we need so many more, let's 10,000 more H-2A visas. Now, when we properly vet people, we bring them in. Guess what? They're here for a season. Their families in Mexico or wherever benefit, and the American people benefit because we're taxing them and they're paying into the Social Security system.
Amen. But all I want to know, Joel, is will we still have avocados?
The Mexican avocados? Yes. That's the thing. The Mexican avocados come from Mexico. They're not even picked here. So you know what? We may be even I know the most expensive avocado out there is California avocados. You know why? Because they're all unionized and all kinds of stuff like that. But people can take heart in California and say that, hey, well, maybe if the Mexican president isn't cooperating and we put a 25% tariff on all things coming from Mexico, now they can compete and sell more avocados. So we benefit from that.
And that's the thing, right? So the thing about it is, economically, we may end up having to pay a little bit more for a time being. Things will level off. There's a million other ways. Like in California, right? The reason we pay so much in gas is because I think almost 2/3 of it are taxes. It's not the gas that's costing that. It's the taxes and all these other extra charges they put on it. So there's a lot of ways to eliminate that nonsense, and a lot of different ways that we can make up for it, no problem. But again, the American dream is about immigrants, legal immigration coming in. I got no problem. You got no problem with that. I was the first in my generation of family to be born in the United States. So I'm grateful for that. I am very grateful. But I'm an American first. I'm not Hispanic first. I'm not beholden to a Mexican flag. I'm not beholden to Mexico for any reason whatsoever. My respect, my love, fine. I love my Mexican neighbors like I love all my other neighbors in America. But again, the idea that America worked and America works because of that system, that all these fraudulent employers that have become freedom fighters for the Democrat Party because they're keeping these people enslaved, paying them $7 an hour, making them work 10, 15, 20 hours, sometimes. all these things that they are taking advantage of another human being, and somehow they seem okay with that as long as they get voted into office the next election.
Yeah, and the ones the illegal aliens that do come over here and they're getting paid $7 an hour. I know of a crew here, and that's what he pays them, something like 7 to 10, depending on how long they've been here or what skills they have. But they pay them. They're competitors of my brother in this business, and he pays them $7 to $10 an hour. But the way that they stay with him is because they make up for that because they work. They call it from the sol a sol, from sun up to sun down. That's no way to live, man.
No.
Yeah, and it's like, and they're thinking, hey, well, I make $120 a day, and because they look at how much they make per day. They're very fatalistic, these people, the illegal aliens. So they look at things like, well, I'm making $120 a day, but they're working from sun up to sun down, man, and they beats their bodies down, and they're not going to survive long like that. But even if they come here with an H-2A visa, now you got to get paid fair wages. You got to pay into the Social Security system. You got to pay in all these things, and you got to have a break. You have to have a lunch hour, and you're taking care of all sides by doing it right. Now, it's not easy at first. You said you put your finger on it there, Gil. It's not going to be easy at first, but it will be for a better. When you first got into the Border Patrol at the academy, back when it was an academy, we went in and we were rough around the edges, man. But it wasn't until you were pummeled, you were brought down to the lowest, and then brought up to feel, like I mentioned in my book, to feel like the Border Patrol was the best agency in the world. And I firmly believe that to this day, because I was ingrained in my head, because they brought me down and took me to worthless levels and brought me up to and that's what we do with our nation. We get rid of the bad things, the extra weight we put on, all this stuff, and then we bring it up. We bring it up with sound policies. Together. Now,
also, so talking about the future and what it looks like, and possibly Trump is able to get the team to do what needs to be done to clear house, to clean house, to revamp the asylum system, and even I think the immigration system does need to be revamped, right? We got quality people coming from all parts of the world that are doctors, lawyers, chiropractors, engineers, scientists, everything else, that it takes them 11, 12, 15 years after paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to become a citizen. So that does need to be revamped, and that does need to be looked at also and streamlined as well, right?
Well, it does to an extent, but you got to understand the reason why everything is so slow and everything is because we're shying away from the rules. So people that are cutting in line, have you ever been driving down? I know you have, in California, especially when you're driving down the highway and it's down the road, it changes to one lane, right? Or and a 2 lane, and now turns. Guess what slows it down? It makes me so angry every time, because I'm waiting on the line because it says right lane closed. So I'm on the left lane, and you have all these buffoons that are cutting in line
at the last minute,
creating the bottleneck. That's what slows things down. So that's what's happening with our immigration system. You have all these people lying. You have all these people doing fraudulent things. You have people coming in and cutting in line and thinking that they deserve it or this and that. That's what we need to rectify first is take care of the people that did it right. Prioritize them. They've been waiting in line. Let's fix that first. Let's take care of that. Everybody else who decided to stay on that right lane and to try to cut in, they're just going to have to wait.
Yeah. That perfectly said, Joel. Perfectly said. I know we can go on, but is there anything you think that you want to cover or say before we sign off on this epic podcast, man? You are a freak of nature.
Well, let's get back to how it started, Gil. Let's talk about getting down to business. When we get in there, We need to get in there and put the right people in place and go to work. Go to work unapologetically. Go to work.
Yes.
And say, this is what we have to do. This is consistent with immigration law. If you have a problem with it, then we can rewrite the law. Good luck with that. But right now, this is existing law. As long as we're following by existing law, not by look. If Mayorkas and the gang got away with it, got away with doing unlawful policies and got away with it, why can't we get away by doing the law? Does that make sense?
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. To me, it does. And I think, this country mandated this president to do just that. So
yes,
let's take advantage of that political capital and get to work. What do you say, Joel?
The political capital must be spent wisely. And that's how we do it. We have to do it. And we have to do everything that the American people, the mandate is to take care of this mess. Bring down gas prices, bring down, and that can be done with stroke of the pen. Hey, let's get the Alaskan pipeline going again. Right there, that was 300,000 jobs, I think, that were immediately cut by this administration. So there's a lot of things that we can do right away, but then there's things that we have to do the right way so it's long lasting. And luckily, we don't have to count on Republicans. Hey, let's pass this law, because it's there. Let's just enforce it and have the willpower.
Amen. Yep. So you get a phone call. Hey, Joel, want to come back as a supervisor for deportation force tomorrow morning? Can you start early?
I said, hey,
what do you say?
It's to serve my country again. And if the price is right, Gil? Because we're loving what we're doing here, right? Fighting for America.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But if they said, hey, man, we need people that are savvy in the law to help us move these bodies out. Heck yeah, why not? Right, Gil?
Yeah, I'm in 100%
a rehired annuitant. If it's under that would be nice, right? Bring that back.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what, man. I wore the uniform a few Sundays ago to go do a show and tell to my kids at my church, and my God, these little kids, a few of them they're military kids, families and things like that. They already understood the respect for the uniform. I got nothing but respect. There was excitement. I brought them goodies. I explained to them how the Border Patrol works in their terms, because I used to do it for the patrol back in the day, elementary schools, kindergarten schools, things like that. And I'll gladly make any excuse to put the uniform back on.
Yeah, absolutely. You said you spoke with kids, but you weren't cross-dressed or anything when you did that.
Oh, well, I was, as a Border Patrol agent. Because
that's the only way you're allowed into libraries and schools these days, is it?
True, but our church is holding firm, so yeah. I do have a devil costume with a G-string that I hold for special occasions, but we'll talk about that another time.
I can't unsee that vision.
Good. God bless you, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on, Gil. And let's get to work, man. And and if JJ gets in, or Holman and stuff, and man, they'll be tapping into Border Watch Daily, I'm sure, to learn where we stand on issues, right?
Well, we still, the job, we tend to think now that Trump's elected that the job's done, but the job's just getting started, brother.
Getting started.
Yes, it is. Take care, brother. God bless, and have a great Friday. Have a great weekend.
God bless, buddy.